Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sigil. And with the political world right now going crazy, I'm sure you got that one person in your family, like your dad, your mom, your grandma, somebody that is just is so brainwashed they don't even recognize like a fact from an assertion. Nowadays, I know you have the person, and this video, I'm going to try to explain to you why that person's brainwashed. And so Marshall McLuhan, right? The medium is the message or the massage. The medium is the message. Just remember that um, line there because we're going to be coming back to it a lot in this video. And we're talking about the media and the authority that the media carries, and it's the very reason why when you're talking to people and somebody, and you just have to look at them like who in the fuck are you listening to? Where are you getting your information? Because you are saying some straight BS. Like, so Marshall McLuhan, he basically predicted all of this back in like 1967 or some shit. I've been talking already too long. Let's get right to Marshall McLuhan. So this is him here talking back in like the 70s, Marshall McLuhan.
For example, in the age of the information explosion, all the walls go out between age groups, ethnic groups, between family groups, national groups, between economies. The walls all go out. People suddenly have to adjust themselves to this new proximity, this new interrelationship. And merely to tell them that this has happened isn't very helpful. What they need to know is, if it is happening, what does it mean to me? For example, in the matter of, say, automation jobs. Information at electric speeds blows out all the partitions between jobs, involves people in firms, in operations that are total and inclusive, so that big business has discovered that instead of a person occupying a little specialist slot in the business, it's better to work with small teams that can take overall cognizance and consideration of the whole operation of the firm, and come up with all sorts of new solutions for factors that affect the entire operation of the firm, instead of just going.
So now the thing about you need to understand about this character here, Marshall McLuhan, is everything that he said and predicted back then is like 100 times more pronounced in today's world with the the internet and just everything that he had no clue even existed. But his book is still relevant and his message is still relevant because, I mean, partway because the medium is the message or massage. If you notice, it was like, I don't know if you could see the title, but it said it's called The Medium is the Massage, MASSAGE, like massage. It's not spelled right, and you're like, well, I guess he left that in there because he wanted people to understand it's not really the medium is the message, it's the medium is the massage. Like, so, and he's talking about the media being like it affecting every single aspect of life, not just communications. Like, it literally shapes the world we live in. Right now everybody's running around talking about the dire wolf, which who knows if that's even real. It could have just been some article but because one person said it on the media and it got repeated and repeated, that makes it like fact in people's mind, and but anyway, so media has been completely and 100% democratized. Now, what's that mean, democratized? Well, if you go look at the New York Times during like around the 2020 election, they wrote like over 1,000 articles on Russia collusion, which turned out to be a Democrat like giving information to some. It was basically their own dossier that they used as evidence to try to frame Trump as being like a Russian spy or something. Like, I don't know, just it was all BS, and they wrote 1,000 articles on it. If you go watch MSNBC right now and CNN, you'll notice you never hear the truth. It's all straight nonsense. They report on the negative aspects of everything. They completely ignore the positive aspects. If you ever see like Dana Bash when she actually is talking to someone and she doesn't expect them to say something good about Trump, like her face, it's like, oh, you know, like she's scared to death because she knows that, or she didn't expect that. You know, like when them astronauts were on their way back home, they're like, yeah, we're really thankful to Elon Musk and Trump. If it wasn't for them, we literally wouldn't be home right now. And they're like, oh.
What's it like to wake up one day in space and find yourself in the center of a political story? I'm referring to the comments a month ago made by President Trump and Elon Musk regarding your return.
Obviously, we've heard some of these different things that have been said. I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation. And we're thankful that they are in the positions they're in. The words they've said, politics, I mean, that's part of life. We understand that. And there's an important reason why we have a political system and the political system that we do have. And we're behind it 100%. We know what we've lived up here. We know the ins and outs and the specifics that they may not be privy to. And I'm sure that they have some issues that they are dealing with, information that they have that we are not privy to. So when I think about your question, that's part of life. We are on board with it. We support our nation. We support our nation's leaders.
Yeah. Imagine being CNN and having to eat that. You know, like it. I bet you they were pissed because you know what they were hoping they would say. You know, they were hoping they would be like, oh, I can't believe Trump and Elon would politicize this issue. Like, but in this case, they couldn't do that because Trump and Elon is the ones that literally got him home because NASA couldn't do it. You know, oh God, we didn't expect him to say that. Like, well, it's because MSNBC, their audience, and CNN, their audience is completely democratized to where only the people that want to hear bullshit about Trump are going to be watching MSNBC anymore. CNN, the same way. It's like only the radical progressives who agree with everything they say are the only people that are still hanging on watching them shows, and they know that. So they're like so you end up with all these people in an echo chamber because the media is catering to this one democratized group of people who want to hear something infuriating about Trump every 10 minutes. And it's like, if you don't understand that this is happening, you might be completely lost right now. Like my dad, you know, he's just, there's times where I'm just like, dude, who are you listening to? What are you reading? Like, it's ironic because he sits there and thinks he's right about everything while he's like reading exactly what Google feeds him to read. Like, it's the same tired nonsense over and over. Things that were debunked years ago, they're still talking about. It's like, you know, it's because the medium is the message, and the message itself doesn't really matter as much as the framing of the message. And that's what CNN and MSNBC do. They try, actually, for years now, for like 20, 30 years, they have been able to literally form public opinion by shaping the narrative in the way they want, you know, people to believe. And it's just not working anymore. They've lost all credibility with so much BS that it's not working anymore. No one's paying attention to them anymore, and they really don't know what to do. And they're still running around in la la land, like they don't even understand what's happening. Like, oh, I don't know why Trump is so good, or I don't know why let people identify with him after we've called him a fascist and a Nazi a million times. Like, but yeah, if you don't realize that media has been democratized, you can literally be in a full-blown echo chamber where you absolutely never hear the truth. Like my dad, I beg him to get on YouTube. Beg him. Like, dude, these headlines you're reading, like every time we argue, right, about politics, he argues some bullshit. Like, he'll argue something that either that's been debunked years ago or used to me. That's why it's so hard to even talk to him about politics. It's why you can't argue with a leftist about politics, because they literally are clueless. Like, they don't have a clue what's going on in real life. Like, but he argues to me assertions that people made, on some dumbass on CNN came on and trying to smear Trump, and he says some wacky shit. He makes actually what they do is they make like 12 wacky ass assertions in a row, and they just back to back. That way you can't even think about what they just said to try to fact check it, because they've already moved on to 17 other wacky things, But that's what I find when I argue with him. It's like he's trying to argue these assertions that some dumbass made, while I'm arguing the facts, the actual facts to him. While and he will deny the facts and believe the wacky ass assertion. Now, why does that happen? It's because of what Marshall McLuhan predicted, 30, 40 years ago. It's all about authority. To kind of stretch it out, I'm sorry about that, but it'll work either way.
Turn on the TV. Look at your show. It's nothing but fear mongering. That's all the Democrats do. What's inflation doing? What's inflation? Up or down? Oh, it's down. What's the prices of eggs? Oh, they're down. What's the prices of mortgage? Oh, it's down, right? But we don't cover the positive things. We only cover the negative things to get everyone worked up. So here's two things. This could be a potential problem, but it actually could be a potential long-term solution. But when you don't want to cover the other half, and all you talk about is the one half,
face the whole time.
Of course that's what you're going to hear. I would prefer to give both sides of the story. That's what real news people used to do, is they would give both sides of the story.
Yeah. Insinuating that he's not a real news guy, because he's not. In reality, he is a Democrat activist who, like that, it encapsulates the world we live in so well, because you got the Republican congresswoman or whoever she is trying to explain to this news agent about his job, but you got the makeup, you got the full makeup having dude, arguing with a chick that's just dressed normally, but because dude's standing there in a suit and his red tie and his makeup on with the professional lights and everything else, it gives him authority. It makes what he says true, regardless of what he says, in some of these more soft-minded people's world. Just because of those lights and the professional and it's the medium is the message. The very, all that together, the studio, the TV, it coming, from a professional news organization, makes it credible, no matter how ignorant and how many times they expose themselves. You know, so I don't know, man. Maybe try to show this video, try to explain to your people what about media being democratized, and how if you don't understand that this is going on, you could just be completely lost. Imagine trying to argue politics with someone right now who doesn't even know what woke is. Never even heard of it. Has no clue, could not define woke in any way possible. Like, and imagine trying to argue about the globalist agenda versus like the populist economist type people. Like, imagine trying to explain all that to someone who doesn't even understand, has never heard of DEI. You mention it to him and he'll say, "Oh, it's not even really happening." Yeah, or maybe it's like one case, you're cherry picking things, you know, and I don't know, I don't know how else to get these people to realize that, to get them to stop and think to themselves, maybe I might be wrong. And maybe I've been wrong all this time. That is like the hardest thing to do. They say Mark Twain or whatever. Didn't he say something like that? It's easier to lie to a man than to tell him the truth, essentially, or to get him to believe the truth. And that's a fact, man.
You should be afraid of the other side, not my side. Well, I want to get our hands around a very difficult situation.
All right, Donald. No, Donald. You got to let us ask questions. You can't just talk. No, you got to let us actually ask questions. You're just talking. All Muslims. Donald. You're not going to keep talking. We will.
You see how disrespectful Donald? Like, why are you even calling him Donald? Like you're his friend or something? But
go to break. If you keep talking, we're going to ask you questions. All right, go to break. Go to break, everybody. Go to break right now. We'll be right back with more.
They're so used to being able to shape the narrative like an IV and just drip the narrative through these media outlets, and it would shape the way people would think. It would shape everyday reality, and it's not working anymore. So that's what happens every single time that the facts come up. It's like, oh, let's go to break real quick, or we're having technical difficulties, or just nonsense like that. It's literally sad to watch, but this is why I don't think freedom can persist if we keep allowing this to diminish our human capital and the social capital of our country. Okay, so this guy here says calls what I'm talking about post-journalism. And let's just watch this intro here. And it really he did such a great job on the intro.
This post-journalism is an entirely new business model, and it was stumbled on by the New York Times. In 2016, the New York Times had less than 1 million digital subscribers and was struggling. Trump comes. By the end of the Trump administration today, the New York Times has 10 million digital subscribers.
Martin Gurry is a writer, a former media analyst at the CIA, and author of the prescient 2014 book, The Revolt of the Public and the Crisis of Authority in the New Millennium.
Post-journalism essentially is the idea that journalism commodifies polarization.
In this deep dive interview, he breaks down the radical transformation of our media and information landscape after the internet, in effect, democratized information.
The elite have seen their authority completely hemorrhage away, and they are on the warpath about it. They're trying to create censorship structures. They're giving us reasons why democracy can't survive unless we...
See, now, in my video here, I'm actually arguing that democracy can't survive with state media, with what we've had recently. Did you see the links they were willing to go to? The amount they were willing to lie and try to brainwash people to try to get Kamala into office? Like, it was scary, man. Like, actually scary. So they call it post journalism, but and they say the internet has democratized information, which is a big part of it, of course. But these media outlets have democratized outrage. You know, they know they have this certain group of base of people that wants to hear nonstop slanders about Trump and get outraged about it. And that's what'll keep them hooked and keep them coming back. And so, like, this is something that every single human being on the planet right now needs to know that is happening. If not, they might be one of the people that's living in a bubble, who's brainwashed, who's only hearing the same views over and over and over. And at, like, literally, because legacy media is all leftist, they never ever hear the opposite side of the argument precisely ever. You know, and you hear what he said. This is a video where he goes on to talk about how it's an excellent video. Go watch it. Where he talks about how the New York Times accidentally stumbled on this because when Trump came along, they recognized it. And the other thing about this is it's also like kind of like dopamine. You know, they say one dumb, retarded, outrageous thing about Trump that's completely untrue, and they get more viewers. So the next time they have to say something either equally outrageous or even a little bit more outrageous than the last thing in order to get the same effect out of people. And really, they wore out their like they tried so hard to convince people of bullshit that it backfired on them, and they lost all authority whatsoever. So bad to the point where now, if I go listen to like an economist or something, somebody that's supposed to scientist, somebody that's supposed to be really smart, and if I find out that they're from some like leftist think tank or something like that, I completely disregard every single thing that I just heard them say 100% completely, because I've listened to these people and they are talking straight nonsense. Not like just my opinion nonsense, like any objective observer that was unbiased would listen to it and go like, yeah, that dude's out of his fucking mind. Like, he's crazy. It's like, it's that wacky of ideas are coming out of these leftists. And yeah, and it's like, just like that news lady said, you know, just turn on your TV and listen to, go watch The View and then watch CNN and then watch MSNBC. And it's like, how do you not see it? I don't get it. I don't get how, are you literally just that dumb? Or like, how do you not see the bias? How do you not hear the lies, the insanity, the nonsense? To the point where you can realize that you're being lied to. And it's all because these older people have no fucking clue that any of this is going on. You know, that's another thing I argue with my family members about, is like, you sit here and act like the world you live in is every single, or the world I live in is every bit the same. The America I live in is the same as the America you grew up in. And it's now completely different. Like, our, like, future generation, not just mine, other future generations are having opportunities taken from them because of this bullshit. Like, it's like, I argue with my dad, and his job moved, he was working for a steel company, worked there for like 20 some years, 5 more years he would have been able to retire, and then they moved overseas. So then he gets another job at another steel company. He worked there for like 10 years, and then they lay him off because they probably arbitrage the labor overseas also. But he still doesn't even acknowledge this as a problem. Like, he tried to argue with me about these tariffs the other day and how bad they're going to be. And I'm like, dude, no, like, we have to get these places to come back to America. They never should have been allowed to leave to begin with. Your very job left. Like, and you sit here and try to act like everything's the same. Like, it's one of them things where I just think in my head, like, dude, what are you reading? Who are you? You are like getting the message directly from the deep states and the CIA, and like you're repeating the shit that, like, the exact talking points of bullshit and ignoring all the facts and pretending they don't exist. But I really think. Anyway, man, that medium is the message. He really dives into, like, predictions, and his book reads like a damn prophecy. Like, everything that he said was going to happen has now happened. And yeah, I don't think freedom can continue if we keep allowing legacy media to there's no other way to say it, to radicalize their base against the rest of the public. These globalist idiots and the retarded leftist socialists are, like he said, they're throwing tantrums, you know, all over the world because because they've eroded their authority, and now they want to turn around and blame it on us, people like podcasters and influencers and stuff. If it wasn't for the internet, then we'd still be able to control people. It's like, no, you dumbasses tried too hard to control people, and you tried to say what you see is not reality. This other thing's reality. And it didn't work. You eroded your own authority. So don't turn around and try to blame it on people like me, a guy in his room. It's utter nonsense. But this is the world we live in. The makeup clown on CNN, who is completely lost, utter factless. Everything they say is just basically assertions with zero facts to back it up. And that's the guy that these idiots who are out there, throwing eggs at Teslas and whatever else are listening to. It's the very reason why, because the media is deliberately radicalizing and brainwashing people with nonsense, with socialist, ignorant ideas. And it hurts me, man. Like, when I go back and listen to, like, the histories of Rome and how great they were, and I think Polybius, he goes into why, the Romans thought they could conquer the whole damn world. It was because they were that great. They were that superior to everyone else. And why? Because they had a ruthless meritocracy. A ruthless system of it doesn't matter if you're a barbarian or not, you can rise to the highest ranks of the Roman Republic because you had the skills. And that's why America's failing right now, because we've allowed all these dumb, just outright ignorant, you're going to trade one problem for three type of policies.